9 generations, 9 hardcore nuzlocks, 1 quest to prove that vanilla hardcore nuzlocks are still way too easy. On top of the boring standard rules that are on screen right now, I made it so every dev will make the following runs at least a bit less of a cakewalk. Will this ultimate snowball effect eventually get the best of me, or will I easily beat 9 hardcore nuzlocks in a row? This is the Hardcore Nuzlocke Gauntlet. After my nuzlocks in the previous 3 generations, the counter is sitting at 7 deaths, which isn't amazing, but definitely could be worse. This does mean that I lost 7 random encounters for this nuzlocke of Pokemon Platinum though. Yes, I'm doing the harder version again, just like Emerald, gotta love peer pressure. I'll mention those eliminated encounters when I get to them, or not, but for now, let's get started. Right off the bat, I had a strong start by getting a Chimchar from Professor Rowan on Route 201, and then catching a Bidoof as my first wild encounter on Route 201. Luckily Japoma was in chat to remind me I'm a big dum-dum, so I then caught a Bidoof at the Verity Lakefront instead. After also catching a Shinx, I wanted to prove to Japoma that I'm not a giant dum-dum by easily beating him in battle since I named the rival after him. Who's the loser now, huh? There are a bunch more encounters to grab around Jubilife City, but the only important one for now is Budew. This little buddy, get it? Buddy. What I was trying to say is that Budew isn't amazing, but with the power of friendship and cheating, I could immediately evolve it into a Roselia, which can easily sweep the rock type gym. I simply used growth a couple times at the start to boost its special attack, and then outsped and one-shot all of Rourke's Pokemon. The next boss battle was against Mars with her infamous Perugly, but before that, let's go over the team and the new evolutions. My Chimchar, Shinx and the Starly I caught on Route 203 all evolved into their middle stages, Bidoof evolved into Bibarel, such a downgrade, the MVP from last gym obviously was still on the team, and Silver the Zubat also existed. Something like a Geodude or Machop would have helped a lot against the Perugly, and I had caught both of those, but because they also both died in previous gens of this gauntlet, I couldn't use them. Still, Mars wasn't a big issue. Luxio one-shot the Zubat, and after switching around a couple times for Intimidate and playing around the grid, Luxio also finished off the Perugly. The only noteworthy thing before the next gym was Zubat evolving into Golbat. All 3 Cheryl fans are now crying in a corner because I don't think she's noteworthy and I probably mispronounced her name. So it's time to face Gardenia. I called her Erica in one of my first challenge videos, I just easily mixed them up. Anyways, Staravia was putting in some work here, but since the third week managed to survive an attack and set up both Reflect and Sunny Day, I decided to first waste some turns with a double team before I knocked it out. The Cherrim came out on the last turn of Harsh Sunlight and managed to bring Staravia down to around half HP before it itself went down, so Gardenia's ace could potentially finish me off with a critical hit. This was easily prevented though by simply switching out Staravia for Golbat, and the Roserade went down to 2 wing attacks shortly afterwards. I've been playing pretty decently so far, so let's change things up against Galactic Admin Jupiter. Her Skuntank is a beast, its Nightslash did over half of Luxio's HP even without a critical hit, and it also has a higher crit rate, so that was risky. At least I got the paralysis, but this was definitely a bit tricky. Just like against Mars's Perugly though, I just kept switching and chipping it down while now actually playing around the crits, and Bibarel eventually took it down. The next 2 encounters were kinda lame, a Meditite and a heat-proof Bronzor. Levitate is way better, but on Route 206 I could get Gligar. I already had Geodude and Machop, and even though they're dead from previous runs, I still caught them earlier so I could use the Dupes Claws to reroll an encounter I already had. That left only Ponyta and Gligar, and if I used Repel with a level 18 Pokemon in the front, I could make it so only Pokemon of level 18 or higher could appear, forcing a Gligar encounter. If I used a Repel, which I maybe forgot about. That is going straight into the box and never coming out. On the last route of this segment I could force a Ralts as my encounter, but that didn't mean I was guaranteed to catch it since it has Teleport, which would immediately end the battle. This time I didn't mess up though, since I came prepared with Taunt's Monferno to prevent the Ralts from using status moves, and I easily caught it. There was one more encounter before the gym, being a gift even in Hearthome City, which I could immediately evolve into Umbreon as a phenomenal check for Ventina's ghost types. It maybe doesn't get any dark moves by level up at this point, but I got a Tiamper Thief, so that isn't an issue. Well, never mind. This was gonna make the Fantina fight a lot harder. She loves her status conditions and I don't have the berries yet to counter those. I had somewhat of a plan, but I wasn't really confident. Let's see how it went. Her lead Duskull was already an issue since it had a Will-O-Wisp to potentially burn my Luxio and cut his attack in half, and despite my attacks being buffed by Rivalry, it had enough bulk to survive one bite, or not because I got a critical hit. Nice lucky break, but Fantina had 2 more Pokemon and each one would be a bigger threat than the previous. Haunter could also survive a bite to then confuse or hypnosis Luxio, but it wouldn't even need to take a hit since it just outspeeds, so there goes my Quick Claw letting Luxio outspeed, and maybe I can flinch the Haunter? Or I can just one-shot it with another crit. Surely the Mismagius will be actually somewhat of an issue, right? Kinda. My lucky streak did continue with another Quick Claw activation, but Bite neither flinched nor crit, so Fantina got off a Confuse Ray. Knowing how terrible my luck is, I didn't take any risks and brought out Staravia on a Shadow Ball. This also got confused, and although it didn't hit itself with confusion, Mismagius still survived the turn and would get healed back up, so I used this opportunity to safely swap back to Luxio and we're back at square one. My luck didn't return with a Quick Claw activation, so I got confused yet again, but then Luxio broke through and landed a critical bite on Mismagius for the victory. Running some quick numbers, that had a 1 in 409,600 chance of happening. That's insane. So yeah, that's a very lucky Luxio. I guess you could call it Luxio? I get it? No, okay, moving on. After that gym battle was another rival fight against Palma. His team gets really scary later on, but currently it's a bunch of pathetic Pokemon that just weren't an issue at all. I could then force a Chansey on the following route, but I overestimated its base defense at 05 and ended up killing it. I know Chansey and especially Blissey are fantastic in Hardcore Nuzlocke, but I'm banning the latter anyways, and there we go, I just got one on the next route instead. Continuing the very specific trend of me being stupid with encounters followed by using Taunt to prevent teleport, I caught an Abra with that strategy on the next route. Even though the next gym leader was a fighting specialist, I decided against putting it on the team, and after my Luxio evolved into Luxray, it was time to take on Maylene. Her Meditite was an easy one-shot with a wing attack from Crobat which evolved some time ago, but the Machoke was a lot bulkier and had a Rock Tomb, so I brought in Bronzor to take the hit. It could tank at least one Karate Chop, so I could stay in for a turn and bring Machoke down to half HP, swap back to Crobat without having to worry about a potential Rock Tomb, and finish the job with Wing Attack. Lucario was last, but because Maylene wasn't as lucky as me, I just confused it with Confuse Ray, chipped it down with Crobat, and got the dub with Staravia. With half of the badges in the pocket and 0 deaths in this Nuzlocke so far, I ended the first stream feeling pretty good about myself. The next stream did not go as well though. I started off by getting a Houndour at the Valor Lakefront and finally catching a Magikarp, kinda interesting, I hadn't fished one up already, and then evolving a couple Pokemon. Bronzor into Bronzong, Staravia into Staraptor, and Magikarp into Gyarados. I'd have to use it soon enough because Crasher Wake's Gyarados was being really annoying. I could have just one-shot it with Luxray, but I guess the evolution caused a huge drop in his luck stats and Waterfall flinched it. I had to swap around a bit, but eventually 2 Dragon Rages finished him off and next was Quagsire. Roselia could one-shot this, but I already took some damage earlier, so to get a free switch I first went into Bronzong, got off a Hypnosis, and safely brought in my Grass type. I set up Toxic Spikes for shits and giggles before destroying the Water Ground type with a single Giga Drain, and with Intimidate, Poison, and just tanky Pokemon I could easily handle the Floatzel as well. Time to go to the Canalave gym with a couple things in between. I could now evolve my Monferno into its final stage, and together with Luxray it obliterated Cyrus's first team. Next up was a rival fight, and I now realize I forgot to talk about the one at Pastoria City, but his team was still garbage there anyways, so who cares. But now it definitely isn't. Still, Luxray could easily deal with Staraptor, especially since it wasted the turn with Double Team, so a second Spark, oh god, and of course I missed. Yep, its luck stat went way down upon evolution. Luckily, Bronzong could deal the final blow against Staraptor without taking too much damage, and even managed to 1v1 the Rapidash because of Heatproof. Unfortunately, it brought me down to where a critical break from Heracross could finish me off, so time for Gyarados. We traded a couple blows until the punchy bug went down, while my Pokemon was still quite healthy, but the Empoleon that followed was definitely an issue. My best counters were already damaged, and the next best thing I had remaining was Close Combat Raptor, but with a special defense drop and potentially putting the opposing water type in torrent range, I needed some chip damage first. Gyarados provided exactly that, and a couple turns later Staraptor finished the job. Oh, there was also a Roserade, but it just died. Following that tricky battle, we got Byron. Yeah, this was easy. Infernape one-shot the Magneton, and Gyarados took care of both the Steelix, and after a bit of stalling from Bronzong, the Bastiodon as well. But then I had to battle my fiercest opponent yet. This random Galactic Grunt. So, let's sketch the situation. We got my Infernape against a stupid looking Golbat. My only fire type attack is Fire Blast, and I can only use it 2 more times because I already used up quite some PP to roast some other grunts. It probably just one-shots the Golbat, and even if I got a 15% miss chance, I could take a critical wing attack and just switch out afterwards. But then Fire Blast missed and Golbat trapped me in with Mean Luke. This second Fire Blast had to connect or my starter would be trapped in with basically no escape, and I wouldn't be showing this to you if nothing tragic happened, so yep, it missed, and soon after Infernape went down as the first death of the run. And it was gonna get worse. But before that, let's throw on some very happy music while I evolved my Ralts to Gallade and Houndour into Houndoom, followed by me destroying Saturn and Mars to get some sweet revenge. And back to sad music, because it's time for Candace. Candace, no, this is not the time I am grieving, okay? I had a pretty decent plan for this fight. Gallade could take care of most of her ice types with Drain Punch, and I had Houndoom in the back which resists all of Frothless's moves, and could ignore any evasion shenanigans with Feint Attack. But there was one big hole in the plan. I didn't think about how I would get Gallade back in, since I subconsciously just assumed Frostless would be her last Pokemon. So with Houndoom against Bitterswine, I needed a way to get Gallade in safely. Time for a great example of pivoting. Candace should go for Earthquake here, so I can switch in my Flying type Gyarados for free, and then bait a Stone Edge and swap to my Fighting type which resisted. But then Piloswine seemingly randomly went for Stone Edge on the Gyarados switch, landed it, and got a critical hit for the Oko. So, what happened? Let's go over how the opponent chooses their moves. The trainer AI calculates a damage amount for each possible attack with a random multiplier between 0.85 and 1, and then chooses the one with the highest damage roll, and when the Pokemon actually uses the moves, it does another calculation for the actual damage of the move. That random multiplier results in 16 potential damage rolls, and in this case there were 14 damage rolls for Stone Edge that could kill Houndoom. So now that both Stone Edge and Earthquake could kill, you'd maybe expect the AI to look at the highest accuracy or something, but no, it just randomly picks which one. Then against Gyarados, it didn't get a 20% chance for a miss, it did get a 1/16 chance for a crit, and then still, even with a crit, one of those 16 potential damage rolls wouldn't kill Gyarados. But the stars aligned and the game got some payback for the Fantina fight, even though there's a relatively likely 1 in roughly 200 chance. This took away an amazing encounter, not just for this game, but for future games too, and with this gauntlet that might cause some issues later. Anyways, I got a gym fight to finish. It wasn't too hard though, 1 Sword Stance and 2 Drain Punches from Gallade later, and the Ice School badge was mine. Before I can get my final badge though, there's some Team Galactic stuff I had to take care of. And with that I mean spending the first hour of this third stream extremely worried about the final Cyrus fight, to then already get screwed over by him in the Veilstone HQ. Sneasel wasn't an issue, but this Crobat definitely was. I had given my Bronzong a Person Berry to heal Confusion, but because the big bad bat used Confuse Ray twice, it still ended up confused and then hit itself in Confusion 2 times in a row. Maybe Luxray had some better luck. No, what do you expect from Luxray? Well, I finally managed to land a hit with Staraptor, but I couldn't stay in for another hit without making a crit, so let's go back to Bronzong. This time the Crobat went for a bite instead of Confuse Ray. Still flinched me, yay, but luckily that didn't happen with the next one, and I could finally get the kill. There was still a Honchkrow though, and although I had a Rhydon to deal with it, Cyrus was going for a random move since all of them would kill Bronzong. Because of this I decided to first bring in Floatzel, and this was a bad idea. Let's just go into Rhydon, and did I even mention ever catching these 2 Pokemon? Well, Now I have. Stone Edge didn't miss, and that was the second Cyrus fight done. The multi-battle with J Palma against Mars and Jupiter wasn't really an issue, with Bronzong just sitting there for most of the time, so let's move on to the Distortion world. The Cyrus fight here is significantly harder than the last one, but it also was a lot better prepared. I led with Floatzel to start off strong with a Surf Oko against the Houndoom, and Gyarados was next. I immediately switched into my Abomasnow that I also never mentioned before. Going over all the encounters just takes the flow out of the video sometimes. Anyways, I had given it a Whip Hair Berry to make Natural give a 70 base power electric type attack to deal with this Gyarados. It didn't one-shot it though, and although I had Ice Shard to finish it off, I then realized Cyrus would probably heal up. So instead I went for Blizzard and didn't get punished because I ended up getting a Freeze. So I just kept spamming Blizzard, and then Cyrus swapped out Gyarados for a Weavile? Sure. I had Houndoom back on the team for this, but I first brought in Staraptor to tank the expected X-Scissor and get off an Intimidate for an attack drop. Houndoom still would have been dead to a crit, but let's ignore that since Weavile just died to a single Flamethrower. Gyarados came back in, but it remained frozen, so that's 3 down. Rhydon Stone Edge again didn't miss against the Honchkrow, so make that 4. Up last was Crobat, and this time Bronzong didn't get Confusion Hexed, so with that I was finally done with Team Galactic. I then just ran away from Satan, easily swept Volkner with Hippowdon. Seriously, I should probably go back through this script to see if I can talk about encounters more, because I didn't talk about this one either. I'm just gonna be lazy and instead call this a bit. That's how comedy works, right? And about it easily sweeping, yeah, that's a critical hit Focus Blast. Yikes. Luckily I still had Rhydon in the back to finish the last 2 Pokemon, and that's badge numero 8. Numero? Are you kidding me? Numero. Well, I guess I'm leaving this in. By now, I've mentioned 2 entire Pokemon of my Elite 4 team. Okay, it's not that bad since I still also need to catch 2 of the final team. Azelf at Lake Feather. Yes, I allow legendaries, just not the broken ones since I use Pokemon challenges as banned list. And Gabite at Victory Road since I could force that with the Dupes clause. My other team members were Hippowdon, Staraptor, a Frostlass that I evolved from the Snorunt I caught at Route 117, and Magnezone as the final encounter of my Fuego Ironworks encounter. This was also the team I used for the final battle against my rival J Palma, and I immediately realized that I had messed up. Frostlass was out of Ice Beam PP because of some EV training, so it couldn't do much against a Staraptor. Luckily I could simply bring out my own Staraptor with a level advantage of 10, so I easily won that mirror match. Heracross got killed by a single fly, Earthquake from Garchomp was enough to finish off Rapidash despite the burn, Hippowdon took care of the Snorlax, and Magnezone finished Palma's remaining 2 Pokemon. You could see though that my face was very bright, so because of that I put on some sunglasses. Nope, this is definitely not a terrible Pokemon Challenges reference that I'll stop doing next run, and it's time for the Elite 4 with first stop, Aron. A Choice Specs Thunderbolt from Magnezone easily one-shot as Legion Mega, and next came out Heracross. Since it was guaranteed to go for the one-shot with close combat, I could safely swap in Azelf and in return get the kill with an Odd and Sense boosted Extra Sensory. After intimidating and chipping down the Scissor with Staraptor, I brought in Magnezone again to Oko Aron's remaining 3 Pokemon with Choice Specs boosted Thunderbolt. For the next fight, I got yet again carried by the Choice Specs. I should probably explain what it does. It boosts your special attack by 50%, but forces you to keep using the same move. There are similar items to boost your attack and speed, but this is the only choice item available in this game, and I'm very grateful for it. Frostlass could now take care of the Whiscash and Golem, but because the Sandstorm boosted Rhyperior's special defense, one Ice Beam wouldn't be enough. So I switched into Hippowdon expecting a Rock Wrecker, but apparently Earthquake would have been enough to kill Frostlass as well, and now I was risking a critical hit. I didn't have a backup strat though, so I stayed in, went for a yawn, and we're fine. One Protect later and the big scary monster was taking a little nappy nap, and 2 Earthquakes finish it off. Against Gliscor I could pivot through Staraptor to safely bring Frostlass back in, and Ice Beam finished off Bertha's last 2 Pokemon. Flint, 5 Earthquakes. Done. Lucian was a bit harder than that, but not a lot. I could set up Nasty Blood with Azelf against the Mr. Mime, kill that, Espeon and Alakazam with Shadow Ball. Yes, I risked a crit against the Alakazam, but details, and Bronzong with Flamethrower, but Gallade was where the sweep came to a halt. Not with a death though, I just simply swapped out into Garchomp and then finished Lucian's final Pokemon with 2 Earthquakes. We all know what's next. Probably the most beloved yet most infamous champion of all time, Cynthia. There are no super effective moves for Elite Spirit Tomb, but a Specs Thunderbolt almost does the job, while it has only resisted moves for my Magnezone. She first used a full restore, ending up at the same HP after another Thunderbolt, and then switched into Garchomp. After yet again pivoting through to Raptor, I used a Powdown to put Cynthia's ace asleep with Yawn, giving me a free switch into Frostlass, which has just enough speed to outspeed here. The one issue is that I set up Sand with a Powdown, only realizing now that this Garchomp has Sandfill, meaning it has a 20% chance to dodge attacks while in Sand. Luckily the Ice Beam connected, Garchomp went down, and I can finish this league deathless if I just play it out well. Yeah, this isn't great. Lucario and my Milotic are down, but this Togekiss is being really annoying. My own Sandstorm is slowly chipping down my Pokemon, and there's still a Roserade in the back. I thought Staraptor could finish off the Togekiss, but fun fact about my Staraptor, it's slow as me trying to come up with a funny comparison. So yeah, Staraptor went down, and it wasn't gonna be the only fallen soldier. Frostlass finally took down the Togekiss, but Ice Beam was just shy of the knockout against Roserade. It finished off Frostlass, and the Sandstorm chipped away on his remaining hit points to close off this crazy champion fight with 11 deaths on the counter and no Pokemon on the field. You might think I'm salty after that battle, but honestly, that was the funniest shit I'd seen in a while. Going from, oh, Garchomp is down, so now just cleaning up these remaining Pokemon, to getting bullied that hard without even bad luck, I loved every second of it. And hey, I still won, so we're the new Sinnoh champions. That was fun. This script turned out a bit chaotic, and I love it. If you enjoyed this video as well, leave a comment, like the video if you want to see more, and if you want to tell me something, subscribe. I think that's how it works. But that bit was way funnier in my head. Ah well, let's just wrap out this intro. That's also not correct. Who cares? I hope you enjoyed the video, I'll see you next time, and of course, stay alive.